Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyoфvacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyoфvacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. This week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am proud to welcome Emily Gelineau, a Grammy Award-winning violinist, pianist, vocalist, composer, and arranger who is known for interpreting modern styles of music, from jazz to country, pop to rock, and world styles such as French and Brazilian music. Emily performs as a guest entertainer on board luxury cruise ships. Listeners know I am as passionate about music and comedy as I am about cruising. So when I get a chance to have a conversation with someone who has performed on cruise ships, I am in my glory. Residing in the U.S. for 4 years, Emily is a graduate from the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston. She has performed live and recorded with many infamous and influential artists across the world, including recording Violin for the 8-Bit Big Band on their 2022 Grammy-Winning arrangement of Metaknight's Revenge. Today, Emily is a well-sought-after musician on the jazz scene in Australia and overseas, whilst regularly earning composing commissions, arranging for orchestras and organizations such as RWS Entertainment and the Perth Symphony Orchestra, composing for media, and of course, performing at sea. Welcome, Emily, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thanks so much, Paul. Excited to be here.
So how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's a little bit cold. I'm here in Australia. For any listeners that might not know, I live in Perth, and it's not raining too bad right now, but it has been raining super bad the last few days. So I've been feeling a little bit wishing I was somewhere warmer, but that's okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never been to Australia. It's definitely on my bucket list. Does it rain there a lot?
It depends where you are. The country's massive. If you're up in the tropics or up in the north, it's raining all the time, all the year, because it's tropical. Where I am, it's quite dry. So our winters, they're not bad. I mean, we're in winter right now. I'm wearing a jumper, but it's like 20 degrees Celsius outside. So that's like, I don't know, 60, 70 Fahrenheit. It's not cold. We just think it's cold. But it does rain a bit.
Well, it's good to virtually meet you. Before we discuss your amazing career and performing on the ocean, tell our listeners about yourself in general, where you're from, where you live now, where you just kind of told us that, your background growing up, and then as an adult, whatever, Emily, whatever you would like to share.
No problem. Okay, so I have already mentioned I am Australian, so I'm from Australia. I was born in Queensland in the eastern state, but now I live here in Perth, and I've been a musician since I can't remember. I started playing violin at the age of 3.5, so I was really, really little. I then played piano. Bit of a crazy story with that one. My mum took me to a library and she said, "You can get any video you want today. You're being very, very good child," when we used to go back to the library in the early 2000s. And I picked a video that said how to play the violin, or everyone can play the violin. And my mum made me a little cardboard violin. It had woolen strings on it. And I just played this wooden violin in front of this video. And then eventually she thought maybe we should get her a real one. And that's how it happened.
Now, how old were you when you got a real one?
I think it would have been just before my 4th birthday. So I was still pretty young.
Wow.
Or 3.5, 4, yeah. Yeah, really little. And I guess I took to it. There's not a lot of music in my family, although my dad might try to say he was a DJ when he was younger. Don't listen to him. Yeah, it's something I took to, and it's become just it's become my life. It's become my entire life. I couldn't imagine anything without it. I grew up here in Perth, which was great, did all my schooling here. And when I was 16, I got a scholarship to go to Berklee College of Music in Boston. So I deferred it a while until I finished school. And then I moved over to Boston for 4 amazing years. And it was all very well and good there, did some incredible things, met some incredible people. And then COVID happened, which was quite fun. And I came back to Australia just thinking it would be a few months, not very long at all. And it was much longer than that. And I'm still here 5 years later. But I am a strong believer that everything in life happens for a reason. I'm extremely happy being back here in Australia. It's a beautiful place to live. I live right near the beach. The beach is just over there, which helps because I always need to see the ocean, probably like many of your listeners. And I get to live my life now with a combination of performing locally, performing around Australia, doing jazz, which is one of my favorite styles of music, as well as a little bit of cruise ships, as you know, and composing and arranging. So it's kind of like a bit of a well-rounded music career I've got going on.
So you spent most of your life in Australia, but you did get those, 4 years in Boston?
Yeah.
How'd you like the U.S.?
I loved it. I loved Boston. Boston to me was like this little New York. It was like a training ground for New York. So it wasn't too crazy, like putting yourself right into the Big Apple, but it was just so beautiful. I love seeing how the seasons changed, how there was a proper summer, there was a proper winter. We don't really get that here because it doesn't get that cold, doesn't get, and just the lifestyle there in terms of the opportunities that were offered. It was something that I never ever thought could be possible coming from Australia, where there are quite a few less opportunities sometimes in the creative world. So yeah, it was unbelievable to meet like-minded people, live life there for a bit, and travel around the US as well. That was really awesome to get to see other states and other cities.
Well, I bet you studied with some artists who probably are quite renowned now from Berklee. I mean, because every year they just produce future jazz. I'm more familiar with jazz, but I'm sure all genres they produce future stars.
Mm-hmm. All the time. Yeah, there's a really wonderful girl that I studied with. We were all in the same ensembles as she played cello, Leve, or spelt Laufey. You might know her as the Icelandic Chinese jazz singer, and she's incredible, and she's completely blown up, and she's amazing as well. And a lot of my friends have got on to tour with large artists as well. So one of my friends is the pianist for Sabrina Carpenter, which is super cool. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
a little bit of that.
But none of your friends, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'll step out on a limb, none of your friends can say they won a Grammy.
Maybe some of them are getting there. I do have it here, actually. It's not an actual physical trophy Grammy, but it's just a little certificate thing, which is very cool.
And awesome. I'll tell the listeners, Emily is showing me her Grammy, which is in the form of a certificate. You were part of a band that won a Grammy. You're the second guest on the Joy of Cruising podcast who won a Grammy as part of a band. This person is probably before your time. Do you remember? Do you remember Billy Preston?
The name rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, he was sort of rock and roll funk.
Cool.
And he won a Grammy, and the guy who I had on the show was his drummer. And the reason he was on the show, his connection with cruising is, now he's in his 70s, and he plays on a jazz and plays with the jazz ensemble on Royal Caribbean and Celebrity.
Amazing. That's awesome.
So So yeah, he was my first Grammy winner. You're my second. I also have a Grammy nominee.
Amazing. You're collecting them.
Congrat Congratulations on your Grammy. Let's talk about that. Talk about becoming Emily the performer and ultimately Emily the renowned violinist, pianist, vocalist, composer, arranger, and Grammy winner.
Wow. I mean, it's been a journey. I don't know. Many musicians or many artists that will say it hasn't been a journey and it's not been a straight path. You know, you don't just decide what you want one day and you start going for it and you go in this linear trajectory and it's all working out. It doesn't work like that. You know, you've got to try things that you like. You have to try things that you don't. One thing I told myself, and I often tell people if I give workshops or mentoring younger groups, is when you're going into university or when you're starting out in your career, you just have to say yes. You have to say yes to absolutely everything that comes along. You will be tired, you may get a little burnt out, and you may also discover things that you don't like. But that's the whole point of saying yes, is because if you're only trying to go for the things that you think that you enjoy in this moment, you're not leaving yourself room for other things that you may potentially also really love. You just never thought you would. So that's something I did a lot of when I was younger, and especially over in Boston. There was a lot of sleepless weeks just because I was saying yes to everything. And I cherish those moments. I wouldn't change it for anything else. It's how I ultimately met Charlie Rosen, who was the leader of the 8-Bit Big Band, who was the band that the Grammy won. And things happen for a reason, you know. This person that you meet will lead you to this, will lead you to that, will lead you to this. So you got to keep your connections open and, you know, just try to see how much you can do, obviously, without getting too tired, but take all the opportunities.
So am I correct in assuming that, for example, you saying yes to things meant like playing in some bands, some local bands, jamming, things like with other artists, things like that?
Yeah, recording sessions, playing with people, practicing with people even, or taking a gig, pretty much anything like that, you know, where you're collaborating with someone and you're trying something new.
So you did like some live, some clubs around Boston, places like that?
Yeah, I did as many as I could because I was an international student. I'm not a US citizen. There's a lot of restrictions on what we can actually do. We can't work outside legally. So a lot of it was within the university, but things like recording sessions, they were totally fine. That wasn't like a live performance. But I did get to do a few live performance things, which were awesome in Boston. And of course, in New York, there was a few more opportunities in New York, I'd say.
So talk about the path that led you to cruise ships.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. My father has worked on cruise ships for many, many, many years. And he still works in the cruise industry, although he's not on cruises anymore. And I kind of told myself at a very young age, I'm not going to cruise. As a result of that, I was like, no, I'm not interested. That's not my thing. That's totally cool. And everything changed when I did move to the US, and I got to spend a few passenger cruises. I went on 2 seaborne cruises, which was absolutely phenomenal. And it really changed my outlook on cruising. When I met the musicians and I got to talk to them and got to talk to the guest entertainers, I thought, wow, this is very cool. I love this life and I love the way that it is. I love the places you get to go to. My vision of the cruising really changed. So from that...
Now, let me interrupt for a second.
Of course.
The seaborne cruise, was that your first cruise?
That was my first cruise.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a bit different.
How many people can say they went on seaborne for their first cruise? For the listeners, most of you know, but for those of you who do not know, seaborne is ultra luxury.
Yeah.
So
I was very fortunate.
You might have said this and I missed it. How old were you?
I was 17 when I went on the first one. Very fortunate because my dad was working there at the time, so he was able to get me on as his guest. And I'd never been on any of his cruises before. I never really had the interest, to be honest. And this time when I did it, it was an Alaskan cruise. I just loved it. I thought it was incredible.
Fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, might be a good time to say this. Emily has mentioned her dad and being in cruising. The way I met Emily, I follow her dad on LinkedIn because I follow a lot of cruise leaders. And so I follow him, and then he posted on his feed on LinkedIn this amazing video of Emily. And, I got through watching the video. Somehow I learned of the cruising connection, and I know that my listeners would appreciate, her perspective. And I reached out to her dad, and he got me her email, and one thing led to another. So I just wanted to interrupt and just say that, I do know of her dad in the industry.
Yeah. No, he's doing amazing things, and I'm always constantly proud of what he's doing in the cruise community, and he's dedicated his life to cruising for his entire life. So it's very cool that I now get to do that. But the path wasn't very linear as to where I went with cruising after that. I took a few years after those seaborne cruises to think what I actually wanted to do. And I don't think, had it had been for COVID and me coming back to Australia, I would have considered going back into cruising. Had I stayed in the US, I probably would have done more land performance. But when I came back here, I realized I wanted to travel. Australia is far. We are very isolated. So any opportunity to travel is something I'll take. And so that's when I got my first guest entertainer spot on the brand new, also very ultra luxury. I was very, very lucky in the beginning here. Explorer Journeys, which is part of MSC.
Oh, but I'm smiling because my last cruise was on Explorer Journeys.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
I have had, I've been cruising for almost 40 years. I've always had on my bucket list to do a luxury cruise. And one thing led to another, and the stars aligned, and I chose to go on Explorer Journeys. So I certainly can relate to everything you're saying. Now, were you on, not that it makes a big difference, but were you on Explorer 1 or Explorer 2?
So I was on Explorer 1, and it was actually going to be the inaugural cruise. That was the point.
Okay.
So I was there in the shipyard in Fincantieri in Italy, which was highly interesting. And actually the ship was a little bit delayed. So there was two other wonderful guest entertainers also there. There was three of us, and we all had something very different, and we were all brought there to collaborate together for this inaugural cruise. We're going to be there for a month. And basically the ship was a little bit delayed, so we had to figure out what to do. And that gave me the opportunity to do a bit of travel in Europe before we got on the ship, which is amazing. So then when we did finally get on the ship, my journey was from Reykjavik to Denmark to Copenhagen. And it was absolutely unreal. I mean, I had been on Seaborn before, and so for any listeners have been on Seaborn, it's very similar, but it is to the nth degree of luxe. The areas, the rooms, the fact that the food is unbelievable. It's just unreal.
Well, I'm glad you are saying these things because, for those regular listeners of the show, they're probably tired of hearing me rave about Explorer Journeys. And what you said in the last couple of sentences is very similar to what I've said. I talk a lot about the spaces, then the food. Oh my goodness, the food.
I mean, it's dangerous. You come back a few kilos heavier, that's for sure. Like it's inevitable.
So that was your first opportunity to entertain, to perform on a ship.
It was, and it was very, it was slightly unorthodox. It was a little bit different to what you'd expect that the current cruise entertainment market is like. And since it has changed, but in the beginning of Explorer, the idea was for the guest entertainers to basically have a night that was theirs. They could do as much or as little as they wanted, and it was really up to them what they wanted to do. So they wanted to engage with artists that were a little bit different, that weren't maybe so used to the regular cruising entertainment, as they wanted to freshen it up a little bit. And that's where I came into play. And it was an amazing first experience. I learned so much, definitely made a lot of mistakes, but also so much valuable information to take away from that as well. I mean, being a cruise performer is as much about the music as it is about the travel. I mean, you're going to encounter delays. Things are not going to go according to plan. And that is as much as the challenging part as actually performing on the ship as well.
Did you collaborate with other artists? I mean, what say a little bit about your set or your stint or your performance.
Yeah, so since it's changed, and we'll talk about how that's evolved to today's market and the cruises I do now, but when I did that first cruise on Explorer, I was collaborating with two beautiful other artists. One of them is Magali Dahan. She's a singer from Luxembourg. She's a Luxembourgish singer, but she lives in France. And Francesco Perino, who is a Steinway artist. He's a pianist. And so they brought the three of us together with the piano, the violin, and the vocals in the hope of collaboration. And absolutely that did happen. And it was absolutely beautiful to get to meet the three of them. And since we were on other cruises together at the same time, which was lovely. And my passion is jazz. So I was able to give basically a nightly performance of jazz. My favorite types of jazz, from classic jazz all the way through to Latin, Brazilian jazz, French songs, gypsy jazz, that sort of thing. And yeah, to have that freedom to express yourself as a performer in that environment was really valuable, truly valuable.
We'll be right back.
Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com. Where did you move on to next? One question before we move away from Explorer, just a question in general. What are the special, or are there special challenges of performing on a cruise ship?
Oh, there's a lot. I would say, like I said before, it's the logistics around it that is the trickiest part. And of course, performing with a band that you've never met before. You know, you have 90 minutes with them on the day of your show, or maybe the day before if you're lucky. Everything has to go to plan. So it means that as the performer, you are responsible to have all of your ducks in a row. You need to have the music really well written. You need to know what you're doing. If you've got video and lighting, you've got to have all that given. The more you are organized, the better, basically. And then there are situations like I'll potentially talk about my recent situation on a celebrity ship, which was absolutely wonderful, but I got incredibly sick the day of my show. So those things happen as well, where a performer gets sick. Like me, I was quarantined to my room. It was not a fun experience. And they had to reschedule my show and call another performer up to be on at that time. So I can imagine for him, you know, that's like, oh, you weren't expecting to perform today. Now you are. You have to be ready for anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what lines have you performed on? So Seabourn, you cruised on, then you performed.
Seabourn, I cruised on.
Then you performed on Explorer. What's next?
Yeah. So far I've done Explorer. I've done Explorer quite a few times. So I've done Explorer. I've done Viking cruises, which has been wonderful.
Oh,
I've done celebrity cruises.
Viking's nice.
Viking's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've done the Celebrity Solstice, which is a beautiful ship as well. And I'm due to do Seabourn and Holland America at the end of this year as well.
Holland America towards the end of the year. What month? I mean,
It's going to be in October, and the voyage is from Hawaii to Tonga.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
I'm booked on Holland America at the end of the year.
Oh.
So, but I'm on Rotterdam.
Oh, I'm on the Norden.
Okay.
We'll just miss each other. What a shame. Next time.
Yeah. So
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
And there's another. No, that's fine. There's another interesting ship that I should mention that's not a cruise. And it is a cruise ship. It's called the World, and it's a private residence at sea. And I've been performing on that ship as well quite recently. I did one last year and I've got another one next year. So unfortunately, unless you want to buy an apartment for a few million, you won't be able to go on that ship. But it does exist and it's a very fascinating model as well.
Yeah, I'm actually very familiar with it, only in that we had a guest, an owner of actually several units at the World on the show last year.
Wow.
And he was on the show after he had, liquidated his ownership. So he was a little more open than he might have been, if he was still living there. And he also has written a series of books. So it's sort of a fictionalized account of life on the World, but all the names have been changed. But just about everything in there is based on fact, but it was really good. And wow, you actually performed on there. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh, it was fascinating. It's a different experience because you go into it thinking it's a cruise ship and it's not. It's basically an apartment that's floating at sea. People live there. This is their living room. And so the way that you go about the ship is very different. Obviously, there's a high level of respect and privacy, so the areas that you're allowed to go into is slightly less. But the connections that you make, because it's such a small ship with not a lot of residents are not on there 24/7. Maybe they're just here for a holiday or they're somewhere else. You really get to meet them and to make really lovely connections, and you see them night after night, which means that you can tailor the music that you perform for them. If they have requests, you can go away and you can learn them and come back and they'll be there. It's a really wonderful experience. Yeah.
And how long was it like a one long period of time, or you've been on it several times?
I've only been on it once, but we've got another one coming up very soon. The first time I was on was 2 weeks, and the next one will be also over New Year period, and that'll be 3 weeks. So not too long, not like a really long stint. But yeah, so this will be my second time going on board. So
who is Emily Gelineau, the Grammy Award winning violinist, pianist, vocalist? Talk about, winning the award, collaborations you've had, upcoming tours or former past tours, projects, some of the people that you collaborated with, beyond cruise ships, just as an international performer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely started over in Boston, and meeting lots of people over there was very helpful. So obviously the collaboration with the 8-Bit Big Band was incredible in terms of the Grammy, and I'll explain a little bit about that and what they are. So the 8-Bit Big Band are a band that writes jazz arrangements of video game music. And I got involved basically.
That's pretty. Sounds like it's pretty a niche that they must own. Yeah. Because that's pretty specific.
Oh, it's a very niche market, and they have it. They've gotten onto it, and it all came about thanks to a friend of mine who was from New York, and through some connections knew the leader of the band and the arranger. And he had posted on Instagram that we're looking for another violinist to record in our session tomorrow, ASAP. Hit me up, message me on Instagram. So she sends this to me and she says, you should do this. The recording session was in New York, so it wasn't in Boston, so I'd have to go there. So I looked and I went, yeah, I could do this. I could jump on a bus and go to New York. So I message him, I send him some of my videos, some of my content, and I say, hey, look, I'm available if you need another violinist to record. He writes back to me, absolutely, come on down, this is the address, see you there tomorrow. And I go, oh my God, okay, awesome. I'm 18 at the time, very young, very excited to hop on a Greyhound bus and go to New York at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I do exactly that, get on a very early bus, get into Port Authority, and then make my way to, I think it was the Power Station Studios in NYC, and absolutely incredible experience. I spent the whole day there recording, and this was for one of their most popular videos. So this wasn't for the Grammy-winning recording. This was just the first one I did with them. And this was a very cool video where it was a live scoring of a Super Mario Bros. Video game. So basically they had someone who, I think his name's Button Masher, or that's his little name, playing the game. And as he was playing the game, we were playing the music live behind him. So it was a very, very cool concept. And it was over like 150 musicians involved. You can see the video on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. It's in 2 parts. It's like a part 1 and a part 2. And it was quite a few years ago, so it'll probably be a bit back down. But an incredible first experience. I was just blown away by what that was like. And so after that, I got to do more recording with them. I got another one and another one and another one. And I just kept going back between NYC and Boston all the time. And I was loving it. And then, of course, COVID happens. I come back and they've released those recordings. And that's when they applied for the Grammy in 2022 and ultimately won it for Best Arrangement, which I will note that is an award for the arrangers. So that is really about how incredible their arrangement was that we could bring to life, which it just amazing people. And I would urge everyone to have a listen. Even if you're not into video game music, it's really cool. Yeah, so that was the Grammy.
Where is the most, I don't know, the most unique or the largest or the most iconic place that you've performed?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm trying to think more internationally, but I mean, within Australia, the Sydney Opera House, I've done that a few times and that's absolutely unbelievable to play there. And obviously that's very iconic, even if you haven't been to Australia. There's a wonderful theatre in San Francisco called the Castro Theatre. I played there quite a few times as part of a tour. That was really wonderful. And what else? Agganis Arena in Boston, massive arena where they do the basketball and everything. Absolutely incredible. That was really wonderful as well. Oh, it's hard to think off the top of my head.
Now, what was the setting for that? I mean, was that playing the anthem or performing? I mean, it was a non-sports event, right? It was a musical performance.
Yeah.
I mean, a musical event. Mm-hmm. There were just live bands.
Well, it was actually a graduation ceremony for Berklee College of Music, but they are massive.
Oh,
and in that particular year, we were playing with Justin Timberlake, so that was pretty cool. I must say, getting to play with Justin Timberlake was pretty amazing. I'll definitely have that up in the high list.
You don't happen to have a picture, do you?
Oh, I'll send one to you after. It'll be on the archives. I'll have it somewhere.
All right. That's great.
Yeah.
Any other, have you performed with other major artists?
Yeah, I have. In the US, I mean, it is all a little bit more jazz and folk focus, as that was what was my interest. But I had a fantastic opportunity to play at the Newport Jazz and the Newport Folk Festival, which obviously happens in Newport, Rhode Island. And that was playing with a multitude of people. One of those bands was called I'm With Her, and that consists of 3 wonderful women in a folk genre. And Aoife O'Donovan is quite famous in her own, and we would play with her quite a bit. But also one of my favorite collaborations in the folk festival was playing with Kermit the Frog. So we got to, the current Kermit the Frog, or the voice of him, obviously, we got to sing with him on stage, as well as Hosier, Trey Anastasio, and there was a few other people. There was also Dolly Parton, but I won't claim I played with her because she was just there. She didn't actually sing at the same time that we were playing. But that was a wonderful experience to be on a stage of that magnitude, especially somewhere like Newport. I mean, for anyone that knows Newport, it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. And I would highly recommend to check out either the jazz or the folk festival.
Let's talk about the future, Emily. Are you a cruiser when you're not performing on cruise ships?
Currently not, actually, but I'd love to be, because since performing on cruise ships, I'm really interested in all of these different lines that have kind of popped up around, and I want to give it a go. So, but if I give it a go, it would probably be overseas, as I've seen enough of Australia. I'm keen to move away from that part of the world. So maybe over in Europe or North America, that would be awesome.
Any travel? Got any travel booked?
Yep. All right. So in September, I head over east of Australia to do some touring. And after that, I embark on 2 different cruise ships. So as we talked about before, the Holland American Nordam from Hawaii to Tonga. So that'll be very exciting. Love Hawaii. Nice to be back. And pretty much straight after that, I'll get on a seaborne cruise from Japan to Korea.
And that, again, you'll be performing.
Yep. This is all performing, yeah. So then I'll come back to Perth about November and potentially maybe going to Brazil for quite a few months after that. But we're still not sure.
Any plans to perform in the U.S. in the next few years?
Actually, not at the moment, apart from that Hawaii, which is not mainland US, not at the moment. But as I said before, there's quite a large chance actually that I might be spending a few months in Brazil. My partner is from there and we love going back. We've always wanted to spend a little bit more time. So if we do go and spend quite a few months in Brazil, that is significantly closer to the US than Australia is. It's a bit far.
Well, I certainly would like to check you out live. Well, actually, it doesn't matter if it's in the U.S. I'd actually rather check you out on a cruise ship.
That would be perfect.
There's not too many things I'd rather be doing than being on a cruise ship. So maybe one of these days, you have a website and all, right? To keep your schedule. So yeah, we'll get all of that and put it in the show notes because there may be some listeners who want to keep up with you.
Absolutely.
Emily, before we let you go, a few light, fun cruise questions.
Cool.
We always like to ask our guests. So the first one's an easy one. How do you spend your me time?
I like to spend my me time eating good food. I love food. Often it'll be Italian food, pasta, pizza, something like that. And I'm very loving Pilates at the moment. So if I'm not doing a lot at home, I'll haul myself over to a Pilates class, get a little bit of movement. And yeah, that's about it really. I don't get a lot of off time. So when I do, I just try to savor it.
Now that good food that you mentioned, you like going out to restaurants or do you cook it?
I like going out to restaurants as well, but I'm very fortunate that my partner is such a fantastic cook. So often we'll love to eat at home and just go and buy beautiful ingredients and cook it at home. That's what I like the most. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, let's stay on the subject of food. What's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
I think it was Explorer Journeys that introduced my love for Aperol Spritz. So anytime that I can, if I'm drinking something alcoholic, an Aperol Spritz is absolutely the way that I go. And usually after a show on a cruise ship, I'll go and I'll order an Aperol Spritz. That'll be my little treat. If not, I'll kind of settle for one of those nice bubbly San Pellegrino orange fizzy drink sort of things. They have them on most cruise ships and they're nice. They've got a nice flavor. But in terms of the food, I would have to say, you've been on Explorer. The food there is absolutely incredible. And the steakhouse Marble & Co. was unbelievable. So I definitely try the steak everywhere I go or something like that. But as I said, I love Italian food. So often there'll always be a pasta option. I'm always up for the pasta. It fills you up. It tastes good. It's perfect.
Of the specialty restaurants, Marble & Co. is the only one I went to twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unbelievable.
What's your most wonderful, memorable, funniest, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
I'd have to say, in between, probably the very first time I embarked on Explorer Journeys and we were in the shipyard, as the ship wasn't ready yet, that was most definitely a memorable experience. I'm not sure if it was a positive one or not. The ship wasn't ready. It was filled with plastic. You never get to see these things, right? A ship that has not had any passengers on it before. Everything covered in plastic. You had to wear hard hats inside of the cruise. It was that much of a construction site. So that was very interesting as well. And trying to get out of the shipyard to try to get some food in the main town, it took about 40 minutes to walk out of the shipyard, and you kind of kept getting lost. You needed like a Google Maps just for that to get out. So that was pretty intense. But in terms of funny experiences or good experiences, I was recently booked on a cruise on the Celebrity Solstice with one of my closest friends who is also a guest entertainer.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
just by complete coincidence.
Oh, wow.
We were both texting each other. And I said, I've been booked on this cruise, Celebrity Solstice. And she says, I'm also booked on that cruise for these dates, Celebrity Solstice. So we had the most wonderful time meeting in Singapore, hanging out. And then for 2 weeks on that cruise, just spending as much time as we could together, hanging out in the pool, of course, performing our shows and having each other there to kind of, egg each other on for the performances and take videos. It was a really wonderful experience. If you're doing it alone, cruising can sometimes be a tiny bit lonely, especially as a performer. So if you have a friend or you're able to bring a partner on board, it really elevates the experience. It's amazing.
Now, if I may ask, what did your friend, what does she play or he play, or what is their talent?
She's a vocalist.
Oh, okay.
So she calls herself a powerhouse vocalist, and she's also based here in Australia. Her name is Lisa Woodbrook, and she has been cruising far longer than I have, that's for sure. She's done something like 25 to 30 ships a year. Absolutely insane. She just went on them. So she was also a wealth of knowledge to me when I was just getting started in the cruise journey. I was able to pick her brains, ask a lot of questions, and she was so helpful.
Okay. Last question. I call this an oddball question, only in that it is not necessarily cruise related. So, but first of all, let me say welcome to Emily's friends and fans listening. We're glad that you joined us, and we hope you come back. Join the Joy Cruising Podcast Facebook group or follow us on IG. But come back and listen to some other episodes. And to the extent you are in Australia, I've had several guests from Australia on the show. I have one coming up in the next few weeks. And of all of the countries who listen to the Joy Cruising Podcast, Australia's number 5.
Wow. Very proud, Australia.
So it's, US, UK, Canada, Australia's number 4. US, UK, Canada, and
Amazing.
Australia. So
Hello.
So hi, and thank you. So the oddball question, Emily, is share one thing that my listeners and your fans don't know about Emily.
This is a tough one. Probably some of my friends and fans will absolutely know this, but some won't. I speak Portuguese, or at least I am learning very hard how to speak Brazilian Portuguese. And I love Brazil. We go there so often. We play the music, and it's finally something I've been able to do lately, is learn how to speak the language and speak it fluently. So, yeah. I don't know. That's a fun little tip. And of course, I'm not all the way that I want to be. I'm not native level yet, but I can finally say that I speak Portuguese.
There you go. Emily, thank you for taking the time to come on the Joy of Cruising podcast. I certainly hope that some of my listeners, and I certainly hope I get a chance to cross paths with you on the ocean sometime. I love music on cruise ships, and but if I can't get to enjoy them directly, I like talking to performers. So thank you, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me.
All righty, as I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.